People who have personally caught a predator, what did you do to them? My little sister was groomed and assaulted by a 41-year-old man when she was 11. He left her barely breathing and with enough internal damage so she would never have a menstrual cycle. To pour salt in the wound, when the day of sentencing came, the judge ruled that there was not enough evidence of intended bodily harm to give this monster more than 10 years. We were devastated, and to make matters even worse, he was let out on good behavior 48 months later. That's when he struck again. He tracked down another girl from our town. He assaulted and killed her in her own home. This time, our entire community went into uproar. We collectively got him served with not only a life sentence, but the death penalty too. But still, that didn't change the fact another family was destroyed. And when my little sister took her own life a few months later because of her trauma, I knew I had to start tracking these monsters down on my own. That night, I created a fake IG profile of a 14-year-old girl named Sophie. The amount of texts I received from grown men within just 72 hours made me want to throw up. I never told anyone about the account either. I simply texted these men, promised them a good time at a certain location. Then I'd meet them with crowbars and baseball bats, force them to beg for their life before leaving them permanently disabled every time. I did that to 7 different men and never felt an ounce of remorse. But then I started texting a man named Grayson. He was very apprehensive about Sophie at first, saying he knew it was wrong, but it felt so right. Right around this time is when I noticed my older brother started acting strangely. He was 24 and had never been in love, but was suddenly smiling at his phone like a giddy teenager. He was oddly protective of it too. I'd sometimes tease him about his obvious new girlfriend, but instead of smiling or getting shy, he'd literally lock up and run to his room where he'd immediately change all the passwords to his phone and computer. The more secretive and addicted to his phone my brother got, the more Grayson became infatuated with Sophie. He started sending her money for manicures and shopping trips, which directly coincided with my brother picking up extra shifts at the warehouse job. Still, my brother's name was Benji, so I never thought anything. I continued leading Grayson on, spending 12 weeks wrapping him around my finger until he would have swam to Antarctica if Sophie told him to. I finally made my move when I asked him to meet me at the park at 1 a.m. He said yes immediately. I started getting dressed in all my black outfit around midnight when I heard my brother's door creak open. I listened to him go downstairs and exit as quietly as possible. I still thought he was going to another overnight shift. I gathered all my things, including my backpack and crowbar, and made my way to the park. I got there 15 minutes early and waited in the bushes. Sure enough, at exactly 1 a.m., I saw Grayson by the fence waiting for Sophie. That's when I made my move. The same thing I'd done 7 times. I snuck around the edges of the park so he wouldn't see me and slowly started creeping up behind him. By the time I got to him, my crowbar was in my hand. I had no intention of anything less than breaking his legs. I tapped his shoulder softly. "Sophie," he said, turning around. That's when I saw his face, and my body froze. It was Benji, my brother. He went pale when he saw a man in a black mask staring at him. He couldn't tell who I was. All he knew was that this was a setup. He started running away like they always do, but this time, I was too shocked to immediately chase him. I couldn't even process anything. I felt my body just take off after him. I eventually tackled him to the ground, where we ended up wrestling, and he stopped fighting after I pressed the crowbar against his neck. It was obvious he still didn't know who I was. I remember looking at him crying for mercy. That's when I just broke down sobbing. "How could you?" I yelled louder than I've ever yelled. He recognized my voice instantly. Jacob?" He stammered out through tears. I ripped my mask off, and we stared at each other for what felt like forever. His hands started shaking, and he was hyperventilating. I remember hitting myself, convinced this was just a bad dream, but the more blood that poured out of me, the more I was forced to face the truth. My brother was one of them. I wrapped my crowbar around his neck, and his eyes burst open, not out of fear, but like he was surprised I was actually hurting him. "I'm your brother," he said, gurgling his words. "You can't do this to me." I let go out of pure disbelief. He started talking about family loyalty and sticking together, and I just punched him. I couldn't take it. When he was on the ground again, I started screaming about our little sister, how she took her life because of monsters like him. That's when he said it. "How is any of that my fault?" He said it with a straight face. I remember losing it. I started wailing blows over and over, and when I was done, his jaw and his nose were both broken. I stood him up by his collar and told him one thing. "We're going back to the house, and you're gonna tell Mom and Dad what you did." 10 minutes later, we were at their door. "Hey Mom, Benji has something to tell you." Full story on channel linked below.